plane train, bro? Our body moves through 3 planes of motion. The first and most popular one that you see in the weight room is the sagittal plane. Now this is any type of vertical up and down movement or forward and back movement, aka flexion and extension. This is going to look a lot like our squat, our bench, our deadlift, or any overhead presses or pulls. We do have 2 other planes of motion that we move through that are just as equally as important, but I don't see as many people training those in the gym. The second one is our frontal plane. Now this is any kind of side-to-side movement out and away from the body or back in, aka abduction or adduction. Now these movements are typically more of our accessory lifts that are secondary to our primary lifts, and they're anything that moves us side to side or out and away from our body and then back in, such as a lateral lunge or a lateral raise or any AB or adduction type movement. The third and final plane of motion that might be a little bit more popular but still often neglected is our transverse plane or any rotational movement. Common exercises in the transverse plane that you see in the gym are often on the cable machine, such as our high to low chops or any kind of rotational variation or any sort of rotational med ball throws or any push-pull movement that has an added rotation with it. Now, if you're an athlete, you need to be training all 3 planes of motion. And depending on which sport you play, you might be biasing one plane of motion more than the other. For example, if you're a basketball athlete, you're going to be moving a lot in the frontal plane, having to stay low, move side to side, cut and change direction on the court quickly. If you're a motocross athlete, you're going to be working a lot in the sagittal plane, constantly absorbing and producing forces on the bike, and moving up and down with the motorcycle as it goes through terrain. And if you're a baseball or tennis athlete, you're going to be biasing that transverse plane or that rotational plane because you're going to need to be able to produce force dynamically through the trunk to be able to pitch, catch, and hit the ball. That being said, even if your sport biases one plane of motion over the others, you still want to be training all 3 planes of motion because your body still has to dynamically stabilize through those other 2 planes while you're moving in that 3rd plane. So you need to build strength and endurance in those other 2 planes, regardless of what plane of motion you're playing in. On top of that, training all 3 planes of motion ensures that you're creating stability across your joints and negating any imbalances that you may have and decreasing chance of injury. So make sure your training program involves all 3 planes of motion, and as always, feel free to slide the DMs if you need help with your training program.